Hello, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend. It was a cold one, especially because we're not used to this yet. This cold air that moved in, it really took over and certainly felt quite chilly. It felt like we were in the heart of winter, to me at least, especially again because we have not been acclimated yet to the wintry weather that is to come as we head into the season. So here's some good news for those of us who didn't love it. We've got a warming trend kicking in here in the forecast. So something to look forward to as we recap our weekend weather here really quickly. So here's a look at what we saw. So I want to point out some area that did not or dropped below zero this weekend. There were several locations, but Tioga and western parts of North Dakota saw our lowest temperature across the country, across the lower 48 on Sunday, and that was that low of 4 below here. So it was quite cold. Looking at our map here, you can see that we had plenty of places that were in that frigid range on Sunday morning as well here in the valley. And that was basically from 10 degrees to 19 degrees was our range of temperatures that we saw. So it was certainly a cold one here as we made our way through the weekend and on Sunday especially. So that was how cold we got. We also saw some fresh snow too. So taking a look at our snowfall reports now, we're doing our running tally for the season now. Now, I do want to say, while Fargo didn't officially at the airport get measurable snow, we saw flakes on Saturday night. I've seen some on rooftops. So Fargo did get snow. It just wasn't officially measurable at the airport. But Grand Forks at the National Weather Service office, they did see their first snow of the season, and they got 1/10 of an inch. And by snow, I mean measurable snow. So they got 1/10 of an inch of snow there. And in Bismarck, a little over 6/10 of an inch, a little over half an inch of snow that fell in Bismarck. And so how does this compare to average? Well, we're a little behind in each of our locations here. Again, that's compared to average, and what is average? An average of extremes. So we'll, of course, catch up, have plenty of opportunity to catch up here as we head into the season. But it's always interesting to note that first snow. And there's still some of that sticking around. You can see some of the flakes on some of our DOT cams in the Western Valley where we saw more of the accumulation, as we expected. All week long, we were talking about how it's going to be more North Dakota, especially over by the James River Valley and Devil's Lake Basin. This is in Langdon, a little farther north, and you can see snow on the side of the road here. A nice view there of those flakes that are still there with temperatures that are below freezing, allowing it to stick around. So still some snow. This is an area as well that did get some fog this morning. We had some pockets of clearing. Looks like we're trying to see some blue sky mixed in there in this view as well. And that clearing plus the fresh snowpack plus the south wind starting to kick in, which helps to kind of push in the more warmth and moisture in the air, and that moves over that colder surface of grass and it starts to cool, and we see that fog start to form. But it's nice to see our visibility reports coming in at 10 miles now. It was Langdon, Cooperstown, Valley City. That was kind of the concentration of where we saw some of that fog this morning. So right now we are looking at a little shake to our camera as we are looking from Newman Outdoor Field, looking toward downtown Fargo, over NDSU's campus. You can see the overcast sky. And here's a look at our temperatures and wind chills. So we're currently in the mid-20s for a lot of places, including Fargo. We're at 24. Wind chill, though, this is something we're going to have to start factoring in more and more. Wind chill is into the teens. Earlier, places like Jamestown and Langdon were as low as 5 was the lowest wind chill I saw this morning. So improvement here at 10 miles, Langdon, or 10 degrees, 10 in Langdon as well, and in Jamestown for your wind chill. And then there are some breaks in the clouds in some of those places out west. So it's cold is the bottom line, and there's some wind out there too. It's not bad yet. There's one exception, Langdon, a gust of 28 miles per hour. We will see more of that as the day goes on. It's going to get windier. And then in addition to that, you can see that we're seeing wind out of the south. And that is going to be the overarching experience for the rest of the day today, a southerly wind. It indicates that we've got warmer air moving into the valley, though we're kind of in that time, that transition zone where, yes, warmer air is moving in, but it's not going to feel like it because the air is moving in fast. The wind brings about that wind chill effect. And so we are looking at conditions that are a lot quieter in the valley this morning. I'm going to just zoom back into the valley here really quick, and then I'll take a look at what's going on south and east. So you can see that we're just getting some clouds drifting through, some areas seeing more than others. There is from time to time, in that last little bit of the loop, you can see some snow showing up there. I can't rule out anywhere where we have clouds that possibility for a flake, a flurry, and as we head into tonight, the potential for a little drizzle as well. So we're going to be watching for that throughout the day. Don't be surprised if you see a couple more flakes here today. Now let's move to the south and east, because one, I want to talk about how far this cold air made it. It's cold enough right now that it is showing snow in northern Alabama on the radar. And if that is reaching the ground, they are not happy. I have relatives in northern Alabama, and this is the kind of weather that shuts things down if we're seeing some flakes there. And so they're definitely experiencing much colder air, and the potential is there that we're getting some snow in some parts of the south here. And then on top of that, we are looking at some views here of the Great Lakes. We're talking about lake effect snow. We've mentioned it for us here in the valley for our big lakes. We more often associate lake effect snow with the Great Lakes. They are great lake effect snow producers. And you can see where that's happening here. We've got this north wind blowing in. And so off of Lake Huron, we've got lake effect snow. It starts developing over the lake and then pushes over land. And same thing down toward Ohio, toward Cleveland. And then Lake Michigan, you get a north wind, it's got a lot of water, warmer water it can travel over and create that snow. And it started off towards Chicago, and now that's shifting more east into northwestern parts of Indiana, where I also have relatives. That's where I come from, northern Indiana. So if I have family and friends watching right now, good luck. I know we've already picked up a lot of snow there, I think 4 to 5 inches around South Bend, so more is coming your way, just a heads up there. And definitely it's interesting to see, places farther south from the valley get more wintry than we are, but that's certainly the case with lake effect. So I thought I'd go over lake effect snow because it also has impacts on us here in the valley. And so let's get into it. So we may have seen a little bit of lake effect this weekend coming off of Lake of the Woods, Lake Winnipeg all the way up to the north as well. And that can bring in some snow into our northern viewing area. And so here's how it forms. So really what you need for lake effect snow is to be in that transitional time. So you need the water, the lake water, to still be very warm and open, obviously not frozen over. And it helps to have colder ground in the vicinity as well. But really what you need is colder air moving over that warmer water. So here's a look. So we've got this colder air. Well, let's first talk about the warm water. The warm water is heating up the air just above it. So especially when it's cooler out. So it's helping to heat up the air. And as that happens, it's also some of the water at the surface is evaporating. So there's more what we call water vapor in the air there. And so then you get this colder air passing over that warmer water. And that allows that warmer air to continue to rise. So, if we've talked about this before, warmer air, less dense, it rises, especially in a colder surrounding air mass. And as that rises, the water vapor in the air starts to cool and condenses. And then we get clouds, or we get snow. Or in instances where it's warm enough, we start to see a little rain in there as well. But generally speaking, we're talking about snow here. And so we get this developing. You need that colder air to move over the lake water for a long stretch. And if you saw my Facebook page or post earlier this morning, I posted, we're making fetch happen. Well, with a Mean Girls reference. Fetch is a word that can mean several things. It can mean fetch, like telling your dog to go fetch. It can mean the Mean Girls reference, that's so fetch. It can also mean that it's the distance that wind is blowing over open water. So the more distance, the greater the fetch of wind blowing over open water, the better opportunity there is for the lake effect clouds to develop and lake effect snow to develop, because there's just more time for that energy to build as it moves over the water. And so once it reaches land, we're looking at that getting kind of forced up over the land. The land can be colder, and that causes more of that snow to snow out, or simply the snow is falling anyway, and it doesn't matter. But that can help to create that effect to help that snow to form. And you see any areas downwind of the lake develop snow or pick up snow in the immediate vicinity. And sometimes it can stretch on for a long ways as well, especially coming down from some of the bigger lakes. And again, I just want to go back to our example here. You can see that we've got this long line. I mean, Lake Michigan is perfect for this with the north wind. Look at all that fetch. That's so fetch. Sorry, I can't stop it. I'm a Mean Girls fan. But you can see that we've got that snow trailing, and then it hits land, and you see eventually that snow coming down. So again, there's that there. And then again, you can see the snow developing, the clouds developing over Lake Huron, and then the snow getting detected on the radar, and then it moves over land, and it snows out. And then it does it again as it moves over Lake Erie and moves south toward Cleveland. So, you know, it's just an interesting topic. Not a lot of us have experienced or have been exposed to. So, you know, I like to talk about that, not just because it's interesting, but because it can affect us, and we have seen that happen here in the valley. So I'm going to zip through this again, because I want to show you, just talk about where we're more likely to see this happen. Again, warmer air moving over colder air moving over the warmer lake water. And you can see that that snow develops as that warmer air rises over the water into the colder air, and then the wind continues to move it along over land. So we get that lake effect snow. So let's take a look at where we typically see this happen. There we go. We are talking about our big lakes. And, you know, this is very isolated, pinpoint kind of location, localized event that happens for these locations. But places downwind of Lake of the Woods, places like Badette. We were watching for some lake effect snow this weekend. Red Lake, Devil's Lake even has had that happen from time to time, especially if you get more northwesterly or westerly wind blowing across the lake because of the length. The lake is more, you know, west to east than it is north to south. And then once we get into cold enough season, when the lake freezes over, that lake water is no longer warm. And so it's no longer warmer than the air around it. So the lake effect snow machine stops. And we don't see that happen again for the rest of the season until we, of course, well, not until we get into springtime, because the lake water is relatively colder at that point. So it's not until next fall that we see that happen for us. For the Great Lakes, those waters tend to stay open. Not always. They can freeze over. But there's more chances for lake effect snow throughout the winter in the Great Lakes. Okay, so now that I've gone over that fun little topic, let's get into the forecast for today. We've got some, you know, areas of overcast skies. There's been some clearing out west, and I think we'll see a little bit more of that heading into the afternoon. As that moves eastward, we'll see a potential for some sun in places like Fargo, Grand Forks before the sun sets at about 5 o'clock. And in addition to that, we are looking at anywhere where we have clouds, that potential for a flurry, a flake, a sprinkle, especially heading into tonight. Watch what happens as we head into the evening hours. We'll watch this system, this wave sweep through, and there is that possibility that there could be a mix happening here, a little rain, a little drizzle, and perhaps a little bit of snow too as that continues on. And so by the time we get into Tuesday morning, we are quieting down. I think for Veterans Day, it won't be nearly as we'll have some wind, but not as windy. And then in addition to that, our chances for precip will come down. So afternoon hours, we're looking at temperatures into the low to mid 30s. Again, a reminder, it's not going to feel like that because of the wind. It's going to feel more like we're in the 20s, maybe even teens. And so looking at our wind, you can see steady, sustained winds into the teens to near 20. And then our gusts 20s to some 30s for us for today. And that wind coming in out of the south, again, is a sign that it's warmer air moving in. And so for today, we're looking pretty good, but it isn't going to feel that much warmer because of the wind. But it does set us up for a better day tomorrow if you're looking for more warmth. And so here's a look at your Veterans Day planner. You can see morning hours start off a lot more mild with some clouds overhead. We're looking at, by the noon hour, temperatures that are going to be more into the 40s, and then by the afternoon, some upper 40s and a little more sunshine. So if you're heading out to any Veterans Day events, you know, flag raisings are outside for the most part, that kind of thing. It won't be as cold. You're still going to want to layer up because there is going to be a bit of a breeze, maybe some gusts into the 20s to 30. So, you know, about 10 miles per hour, a little less than what will happen tonight. But it is still going to be not nearly as frigid as it is today and as it was this weekend as well. So let's take a look at our extended planner. We've got a nice warm up here. So once we get into tomorrow, we're into the upper 40s. We're looking at that continuing into Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, another kind of ratchet up in our temperatures. We're getting into the 50s by Friday afternoon. The one thing to note, though, is the wind. It could get quite windy on Friday, so that would kind of take away from that warm up, unfortunately. But it's that time of year, you know, we're not really warming up that much anymore from the sun. It still does its job, but not as effectively as it did in the summertime. And so we rely on warmer air to physically move into the valley to warm us up. And if it's moving into the valley, what's it doing? It's moving, it's blowing, so we have to put up with the wind to have that. And then heading into Saturday, that's when we're watching out for some showers that could linger into Sunday as well. And then the overnight, you know, some of those might mix over, it might be a little more of a mix, but temperatures not nearly as cold this weekend. 40s to some low 50s, that's going to feel a lot better. Next week, right around average, upper 30s to around 40 degrees for your highs. So nice to see that we've got some relief in sight. If you liked the winter weather that we got this weekend, well, you know, I'm glad you got to have it, but it is going away for a minute. We know we'll be seeing more of that to come as we head into the season. And we are looking at conditions that are looking a lot quieter too. And the next chance for precip will be this weekend. So we have several days in a row where we're talking about quieter weather, and we just have to deal with some wind really as our one factor that's going to be an issue. Again, I do want to mention tonight there is that possibility for a few sprinkles, a few flakes as well. And as usual, I'm just checking to see if we have any questions. No questions today. So if you do have questions, you can always comment them on our Facebook page. And we'll continue to keep you up to date on what's going on with the weather today and throughout the week. And, you know, enjoy the warm-up when it eventually gets here. It's going to take a little bit. All right, have a great Monday, and we will see you again tomorrow.